You can create your own custom GPT with no code in just 20 minutes, and I'm going to show you every step of the way in this video. What you'll end up with is a chat like this. So I can say, what is your role? And click send. And now I'm waiting for a response from OpenAI. And I get back, as a marketing expert at Planet No Code, blah, blah, blah. That is because I've created my own custom GPT to act as a marketing expert for my business, Planet No Code. I'm going to show you how to do that in this video, and we're going to dive right into a new app in the Bubble editor. So here is our blank canvas for our Bubble app. And if you watch this video through to the end, you'll see just how powerful Bubble is as a web app creation tool completely with no code. For example, you can design, you can set up workflows, you can set up a database. We're going to be using all of those things in this video. So I'm going to add a little bit of styling to this page. I'm going to change the background color to a gray. I'm going to set the layout to column. I'm not going to concentrate too much on styling things incredibly nicely or even giving much of an explanation about why I'm making the certain stylistic choices like container, layout, column. We've got other videos that cover that. So I'm going to add in my repeating group. A repeating group is how I'm going to list through all of the messages. I'm going to repeat through the data type messages in my database. That's going to form my chat. So I'm going to change that also to a column. And I'm going to add a bit of margin to the top and a background color. Brilliant. Now let's dive into data. So I need to add in a new data type, and so that will be message. And I'm going to add some fields as I go through this video, but right now I just need the message to contain content. Because that will be the text that the user types in and that OpenAI, your custom GPT, replies with into your application. That allows me to go to content type, set it as messages, data source, do a search for messages, and then I can add in a text label into here, and I can say current sales message. I'm linking in with that data type, and I'm simply saying display the content. And so that will print the content of that message at the moment for sales for messages. Okay. So now let's add in a multi-line input, because that will be how my user enters their half of the chat. So let's get that 20. I'm just going to center that there. I think also I'll make the background color of this white as well. And while I'm there, I'm going to add in a button. I'll say send. Again, minimal padding. And center it. So that's basically all of the core design aspects I need in order to present a custom GPT chat to a user in my app. Now, there are other things you need to consider. This is what you need for an internal MVP. But if you're actually going to let users free on this, you'd want to set up user accounts. You'd want to set up some way to protect your OpenAI API from being abused. You know, too many requests. You want to limit that, some sort of token system, for example. But this is the basics. This is demonstrating how to get the internal MVP working for your custom GPT. So now I need to go over into the OpenAI documentation, because I have to take, we'll put a link in the description, but I have to go to API references and create chat completion, because I have to send this piece of code over to OpenAI in order to get the AI chat response back. So let me show you how to do that. I'm going to go back into Bubble and go into plugins and add in the API connector. Now in Bubble, there are OpenAI plugins available. None of them are official. They're created by the amazing community of plugin developers on Bubble. That is a good shortcut, but I would say that in most cases they are a shortcut, because there's nothing, there's a lot of what you can do with the plugins that link in with third-party services like OpenAI. You can build yourself using the API connector, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do here. So I'm going to add in a new API, call it OpenAI, and I prefer to do this method where I can, because it gives me the most control over how I engage with the third-party API. I'm going to authenticate in the header, How do I know that? Well, it's because authentication goes in the H section, H for header. And I need to add in another piece of header content, which is the content type application JSON. So I'm going to add in a shared header here because I can set up multiple calls to OpenAI down here. This is one of them. But I know that each of them is going to share this structure. Now, what we're dealing with here with the JSON and with the API call, if you get one bit of punctuation wrong, if you get one mistype on a parameter name typo, it's going to fail. So it needs to be precise. Then we'll add in our API call to send data and generate that OpenAI response. We'll say send message. And I'm going to change this to action because I want it to be an action in a workflow. That's all going to be explained as it comes up. And then I need this to be post because I'm sending data to OpenAI. So let's go back into references. And I'm going to copy everything here that's inside of the quote marks and paste it in. So there are some things that you can change here. You can change the model. So this is just going to use GPT 3.5 Turbo because it's quick and it's cheap. And what else do I need just to be able to test this for you? Let's go back into documentation. I need the endpoint. So I'm going to copy that. Paste it in there. And then I need my API key. So I'll go into my OpenAI account and I create an API key. Copy that. I will be deleting this before publishing the video. And I paste it in here, but I write the word bearer in front so that it starts like that. And we check the references. Yes, bearer followed by the API key. Now, before I go any further, if you're learning Bubble, then you should subscribe to our channel. You should like this video and you should check out our website planetnocode.com because we've got hundreds of Bubble tutorial videos just like this one. We are a channel all about no code, all about Bubble, and we've got hundreds of videos showing you just what you can build with the power of no code using bubble.io. So check out our website planetnocode.com to get started with that. Right. This is now at a point where I can test it. So I'm going to initialize the call. This is me instructing Bubble to send this API request to OpenAI. So I'm going to initialize it. And I get back a response that looks like this. If I get back an error, well, that means I've made a mistake and I have to try and work out what's gone wrong. But this is good because I can see that OpenAI has replied with this message here, hello, how can I assist you today? So I'm going to click save because that's also the process that I'm training Bubble what the reply looks like because I need to be able to extract out of that the message content and any other data that I want to use. So let's now go and set up a workflow. So when send is clicked, I want to plugins send OpenAI send message. Now, if that's not showing up for you, then that will be because either you've written a different API name and a different API call name in there, or you've got this set to data. I'm seeing that API action in workflows because I've got this set up just like this. So let's go back into workflows. Now, if the button's clicked, it's going to send that same message, and I want to save the response. So I'm going to say create a new thing, message, and then the content is going to be, if I initialize the call again, I want to save this bit, and so I need to go into choices, and now Bubble has detected that choices can be a list. That's because this particular OpenAI API endpoint, you can request it to give you more than one version. Now, if you're building a chat app, that's not really going to work. You only want them to send back one version, but it still treats it as a list. So I need to go choices, first item, message content. So I go results of step 1, choices, first item, message content. And that's going to save the text of the AI reply into my app. Now, I want to know, I want to be able to lay out and have a bit more control over the structure in my database. So I'm going to add in fact, I'm going to go to data, I'm going to add in an option set. Now, option sets are a brilliant way of storing fixed values across your app. There's a couple of things to be wary with option sets is that they are loaded in on every page. So don't create an option set with thousands of entries. Also, option sets should never be used to store private information, but they're perfect for something like this, which is role, which are the different sides of the conversation. So if I go back into the OpenAI references here, we can see, yeah, we've got role. And then maybe if I go back up to the chat here, where do we see it? Messages. Where? What am I looking for? Oh, here we go. Messages, right. So you can have a role as an assistant or as a user or as system. Okay. So when, well, let me add those in. So we can have assistant, we can have user, and we can have system. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do with that is back on workflows, I'm going to create a role field on my messages of the type option set role that I created. And that means that this inbound message, I can tag it as assistant. And that's going to be important because part of using the chat completion OpenAI API endpoint is that I have to provide the whole history of the conversation with every single message. This is all part of ensuring that you get that really amazing historical knowledge of the conversation coming through in OpenAI. So I set that as a system. Now, I actually want to save another message, and I'm going to put that up here. I want to save the outbound message that my user has submitted. That's so that in my repeating group and in my database of messages, I've got both sides of the conversation. So content is going to be multi-line input A's value, and then role is going to be user. So now I'm saving two messages when the button is clicked, but what I'm missing is actually passing those messages into OpenAI because I'm just using their dummy content here of these two messages. So I'm going to go back into plugins and I'm going to make this dynamic. So everything in messages needs to follow this exact structure. And I'm going to show you how we can build that. So I'm creating like a merge field or a variable here. And I don't want it private because I want to be able to access it in a workflow. And I now need to rebuild this structure here for each message. So in fact, I'm going to copy that. Notice that in JSON, the different entries are separated by a comma. Okay, that's going to be so important when we come to it. So I have to compose the message history here. Even though this might be the first message that's sent, I have to compose the message history here. So I'm going to say, do a search for messages, sort by created date, descending no, because I want the oldest to come first and the newest message to appear at the bottom. And then I want to have format as text, and then I'm going to paste in the formatting from OpenAI. And now it's important here that by pasting it in, I've actually inserted a load of additional characters, for example the spaces and the line space. So I'm actually going to make sure that it's all on the same line because I don't want to get an error like that. And then the delimiter is what separates each of these. And so that is a comma and a space. Now I need to make this bit dynamic. The role is this message's role. I'm searching through all my messages and then I'm saying for every one message, format it like this. So for every one message, I want to have the roles display. Why is it display? Well, if I go back into option sets, we can see option sets have a default field called display. I prefer to call it label. Okay, but that is my different values here. Let's go back to format as text. And then I want my message content. Now, here's another really important bit, which is that JSON is particularly sensitive. The JSON syntax, meaning the way basically the way the code behaves and what the code looks for, is particularly sensitive to certain punctuation. Like you can see that the code here is using curly brackets and speech marks. And I want to make sure that if a user enters curly brackets and speech marks into the multi-line input, that is not going to break my app. So I have to use a modifier called JSON safe. So I'm getting rid of everything, including the speech marks, and I'm saying this message's content JSON safe. That means it wraps all of the message content in the speech marks, and it takes any punctuation or basically any characters in the message content that could cause an error with JSON, and it does a process known as escaping it, which is effectively to put a backslash in front of it, and that ensures that OpenAI knows that it is text content rather than code. So I think we are now really important bit. We are making a custom GPT, and that means we actually want to run with the system message. So I'm going to go back, plugins. I'm going to add in the system message here, making sure that we have a comma there, because the system message is message 1, and then the messages is our list of messages that we've generated from within the app. So this is the bit, 16 minutes in, this is the bit where you actually get to craft your own custom GPT. So for example, we will say you are a marketing expert, advise the user on marketing questions. Now, obviously, what makes an app that you build using the OpenAI API distinctive to you and that other people can't copy is that you've got amazing prompts. This is not an example of an amazing prompt, but this is where you can like not preload, but you can kind of pre-package the data that is going to style the tone and also provide key bits information. For example, we can say you work for a company called Planet No Code. Planet No Code is a no code and bubble education platform, helping non-coders launch SaaS applications and make money. It's always good. Okay, so I think we're now at a point where we can actually test it. So I'm going to click preview. And so I'm going to ask the chatbot, who are you? Well, actually, what is your role? Because that's going to check to see if the system prompt is being taken into account. So I'm going to click send. There's my message. We're now waiting on OpenAI to respond. And there we go, we get a message back. I'm a marketing expert at Planet No Code. My role is to provide guidance and advice. Okay, let's now just tidy this up in a few ways. So we'll go to design, and my message content here, I'm going to set this to 100%. Height, I'm going to add in some 24 padding all the way around. I'm going to get rid of fixed number of we'll have a fixed number of rows. No, we won't. Change that to 0. Change the height here. Min height is also 0. That means it's just going to show as many messages as it needs to. And then on my workflow here, I need to reset my input so that it's ready to take another message. And also my messages, I want to sort by created date. I think that's it. Let's go back to here. Okay, and so we could say now, write a brief marketing strategy for our business focused on YouTube content. So my message goes to OpenAI. And we're waiting for a response. Now I put brief in that message specifically because I didn't want OpenAI to write pages and pages. But yeah, here we go. Target audience, content plan. Yeah, loads of details there. So I think that gets us to a really important point. You can now create your own custom GPT using that system prompt, and you can include a whole host of additional detail in there. I've just shown you the bare basics. We've got about our business, and we've got a role for the user. They're a marketing expert and they work at Planet No Code. Now, if you've got any questions or you'd like me to expand on any parts of this video, please leave a comment down below. And remember that if this has sparked your interest, if this is your first introduction to Bubble, then you can head over to our website and you can explore hundreds of Bubble tutorial videos. Many of them are free, some are exclusive to our paid member community, but there's plenty there to get you started. Like, subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.